Thank you for joining us here on Zoom or live on Facebook. This is the second CHC talk in a series independent in Precarity. And this series of talks is part of our project Voids. We are doing this project Voids this year throughout the whole year. So besides the main program that we are doing, that we did in February this year, we also did a number of participatory performances, interventions, and talks throughout the year. And we are finishing this year program with exactly this talk. So thanks everyone who is joining us, and especially thanks to our speakers. I will shortly introduce them. But before that, I will just say a few words about why we are here and what are we going to talk about. So Independent in Precarity is aimed to discuss a situation in which many of artist-led and non-profit artistic organizations are living today, situations that we encounter every day that we need to work in, and also the situation of precarity that is enhanced through the COVID times. In the first talk, we hosted a few of other speakers, and those were representatives of Gallery Brod, that's from Sarajevo, Gallery U10 from Belgrade, and Pararoja initiative from Albania. And today I am very happy to introduce and welcome you Alem Korkut, who is an artist and one of the founding members of Atelieri Žitnjak, artist-led association from Zagreb, who he will be representing tonight. Then Sonila Abdalli, who is one of the co-founders of Destil Creative Hub in Tirana, Albania. And Meryem Saadi, who is a PhD researcher at the University of Uppsala, and who is currently performing a research on the sustainability of small artist-led organizations in rural Sweden. So as you can see, we also, one of the aims of this talk is also to get to know some of the initiatives from the region and from the Europe. And this time we also are going beyond the region. And we invited Meryem. I actually had her from the beginning of this talk, but it makes more sense to actually talk with her today, because I think that this perspective that she can give us from the northern parts of Europe can also be maybe comparative, maybe also inspirational, and maybe just good to have in mind when we are going to have a discussion later. So I will stop talking now. Alem, I give you the floor. So please introduce yourself and Atelieri Žitnjak.
Thank you, Yasmina. Hello, everybody. So my name is Alem Korkut, and I'm an artist, a sculptor, which used to be a freelance artist for 10 years before I started teaching sculpture at the Academy of Fine Arts in Zagreb. So it happened in 2007. But I guess the more important part of my history is 2003 or beginning of 2004, when the city of Zagreb decided to give an old school building in a suburban area of Zagreb for artists to use it as their working spaces. So at that time, this was really the end of the world. So first time I came here, I thought so that there is an elephant there holding the plate and whatever. But later in these almost 18 years that we are here, the city developed, and this part of the city is not so far away from the center. But this position of this building, I guess, was very important for our fundaments, because at the beginning only artists who really needed a space, working space, accepted studios in this building. So the first way to somehow make this kind of community was just this very essential thing. So the artists who really needed the space wanted to come here and start to work. So at this first few years, there were really different artists from different age, different approaches to art. So there were painters and print artists and sculptors, so mainly the traditional media. But as this space developed during the time, some of artists left and the others came here, and at this point we have around 15 artists here that are in their artist practice using really almost every kind of traditional or less traditional approach. So we have photographs, designers, writers, sculptors, painters, print artists, perform artists, conceptual artists. So really a variety of approaches. But what is most important is that all of us are really enjoying being here, working here, and sharing the same space. So after few years that these spaces were studios, working spaces, we found out that we could maybe start a gallery, some informal space for to offer to our colleagues to exhibit their works. And at the beginning, it was a very experimental place. Artists that exhibited for first few years exhibited their works that were not very something that they usually do. So there were lots of painters that exhibited photographs or video works, or sculptors that exhibited whatever. So the point was that that we had this, I think, very friendly approach to people exhibiting here, and always they had a reflection. We could discuss their work. So you have to keep in mind that artists are always or mostly not certain about their works, that they always need some petting and some way to find that their work is good or bad, or why is it good or why is it bad. Or so we every time we discussed about works, and I think that made this unique atmosphere that is recognizable also today. Another thing is also that since we are really at that time, especially, were far away from the center, we decided to make an opening with good food and good drinks, and every time we have had an opening, and it is also today, we make a kind of feast, and we all just want to enjoy exhibitions, and we still want to make it something special. And also one important thing is that during the time we maybe 5 years after founding of that gallery, I can show you. Yes, I forgot. I can show you. It's not really a gallery that you, just a sec, I can show you the, okay. So, okay, do you see this? This is like, this is the, wait. Okay. Okay, so this is the gallery. So it's a hallway. I mean, this used to be the school. So this is the entrance to a school, former school, which is now this part of these hallways is gallery. Why did I start to talk about it is that it's not really a gallery that you can it's not a wide cube gallery. It's lots of parts of this space is full of our work. Sometimes you can find artists using the space for their works. So these are photos. Yes, we did have in these last 15 years around 100 events here, lots of exhibitions, lots of concerts, lots of screenings, and this is the very important part. Yes,
we still see just the first photo.
Really?
I don't know if you are moving them.
Wait. What?
Maybe stop share and then try to start again.
Stop share and then wait. Wait, okay. Just a sec. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the gallery, which is a hallway, but still everybody exhibiting here is aware of that fact, and apparently it has never been a problem, because always, so we invite people to exhibit here, and we haven't experienced ever that somebody refused our invitation. So this is one of the most important parts of our space. This is the inside yard that we use for during the summer, and also when the the weather is okay, we use it for openings. On the left you can see barbecue, and there it's me cooking for some event. I don't remember which one was that, but this is very usual thing. So the other thing that we started here was and still is residency. We in 2007 we started exchange of artists between Düsseldorf in Germany and Zagreb. So each year until this Corona times, we have had this exchange. Few years ago, we also made one space especially for residencies, and our plan is to continue be more serious about it, and maybe to start a few more residencies during the year. At this time, because of Corona and all the complications that it brought, this space we offer to artists that we think they needed for these are Croatian artists that they need for preparing of their exhibition. So we have this program called Studios Live. So this space that is made especially for residencies are at these times used by at this very moment by Anna Ratkovic Sobota, which is preparing an exhibition sometimes in spring. What is important too is that 2 or 3 years ago we have had invited new young curator, writer, and artist and designer Bojan Krištofić, who somehow brought a new energy to the space. He started few new programs. He started collaborations with students of art history from Zagreb University, and also started few more programs. So I think, and we have a new young audience also. And you know, after almost 20 years, this space is still active, still alive, and I think we have a really good perspective.
Thank you so much. Well, I will just now have one main question. How do you sustain yourself? What are you getting funding from? And how did that change from the beginning to where you are now?
So yeah, at the beginning, as I said, this was only a space for artists. These are like studios, Atelieri Žitnjak, Žitnjak studios. And this is still our most important part, that we have our studios that we use for our art practice. But as I said, we decided during the time to develop it a bit more, especially when Bojan came. It just grew much more. So like when we started this gallery a few years, we started getting the funding from Ministry of Culture and City of Zagreb for our exhibition program. And then when we started this residency program, we also get some money from Ministry of Culture and City of Zagreb. But in last 3 years, we won Kultura Nova grant, which is, I guess, familiar to you Croatians here. And this is a fund by Ministry of Culture, which is open to spaces and programs that are dedicated to development of local communities, I would say. And so for 3 years, and this is pretty much money, which help us to develop. With that money, we also repaired these spaces for residency, and this fund is much more open to different goals, not only for exhibition and for fees and so on, but it's much more open, and you can spend money for lots of different things. So we are not lacking of money. Of course, you always need money. You know, how no matter how much you get, you always need. Our main problem is that this building was abandoned in 2000. So the pupils from the school left, and in 2003 we entered here. So the building is not in great shape, and we spend a lot of energy, money, and time just to make it possible to be here. So our main problem is this: how to sustain, to have this building operational for artists to work here.
Okay, thank you. If anyone else has questions, you can feel free to just raise a hand or write in the chat, and also write on the comment in Facebook. I have one more question for you, Alem, at this moment, before we go to Sonila. And this is not related maybe to your organization specifically, but since you are also teaching at the Academy of Arts, and especially in the field of sculpture, what are your observations about the students, and especially young artists who are graduating from the academy? How do they feel about non-institutional frameworks? to work in, especially in this field of sculpture, which is, as you know, like it's often connected to the commissions that come from institutions and so on. So what is their attitude? Do you talk with them about it, or?
Yeah, you know that this was a problem when I was a student, and unfortunately it still is. So academy offers you secure surroundings, and no matter how seriously I'm telling my students that this is just the time that they spend at the academy is not forever, and they have to prepare for the times when they graduate, they just like don't understand that it will ever happen. So I guess they're just avoiding the situation where, you know, they are going to have to somehow live from their works. Unfortunately, what you're saying, commissions from the state or whatever, it doesn't exist anymore. So sometimes in socialism it ended, and we have never developed proper art market, so it's pretty hard for young artists to survive as an artist. But what we are trying to teach them is, you know, how to use their skills and knowledges and talent for variety of things that they can do after graduation. So most of artists, most of my fellow colleagues, students have never ended up as an artist, but they all work something connected to art somehow. Or they are either designers, interior designers, producing furniture or whatever. But so it's rare that you have 2 or 3 artists that study in the same generation. So the best, the worst problem about students is what I notice is that they are not really interested in contemporary art, and not really keen on visiting exhibitions or reading books or whatever. So it's crazy, but we have to organize for them to visit important exhibitions in Zagreb, which is really crazy, but you have to do it.
Because in that way they can also get introduced to all these other forms of work, or other than institutional work, that is also precarious, but at least maybe
I'm fully aware of what they should learn during before they graduate, but it's really hard to force them to learn. This is a crazy situation where you really think that students of art should be really interested in art, which is not very often not the case. So
yeah, I understand. Thank you so much for now. Sonila, hi. So now we're from Zagreb, we're moving to Tirana, and Sonila will present very interesting initiative that she co-founded, and she will gonna tell us about Destil Creative Hub. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jasmina. Thanks to both of you, also to Marina, for inviting me in this talk. I also want to take the chance to congratulate you for your space, because when I remember the first meeting with Marina, we were both in a very strange situation back in 2019. You still have not Prostor, this is how you call the space? Culture Hub Croatia, right? Okay. And there was this project going on, like at the beginning into Split City. And then also us in Tirana, we were in the moment of leaving our first premises. So I will talk a little bit about that and introduce myself now. My name is Sonila. I'm an architect as a background. In my last year of School of Architecture, together with a group of friends, we co-founded Destil, which was the initiative by a group of friends as also a need that came to us in the moment that Tirana, our city, was having and going through a lot of transformation, very fast transformation. So as a resistance to this transformation, we choose to renovate an old abandoned building and to transform it into a hotel, bar cafe, and also into an event space and co-working space. So this also because our School of Architecture moved from city center to the highway, so we needed some space to work on at that time. At that moment, we didn't knew actually what was the meaning of co-working, but we needed to have some shared space exactly as a response to this transformation. So our first intervention was actually renovating, rethinking, redesigning the space of this old villa from the 38, from what in Tirana was called the old Italian style, and readapt it to the new function that we had in mind. We needed the hostel to connect the international community that started travel in Tirana back at that time. We're talking about 2014. There were very few hostels in Tirana in that time. So maybe for Croatia, for other cities, the concept of the hostel was much more new, but in Albania, there were very few. And I can even say that in that time, it was the boom of the hostels and the Airbnb. Like in 2016 later, this is what happened. So a lot of tourists and international people used to come and visit our space. We needed the bar because we are Balkans, Mediterraneans. We love to drink coffee, love to connect and to discuss everything on the bar. And we needed a space to work and to exhibit and to have events on music, on architecture, on design, because this is what we love doing, you know. But since this was a private initiative, so we were mainly supported by our families who believed in our crazy idea and helped us with this investment. It needed to be sustainable by having also the business part, you know. So this is what made us sustainable back in the time, because the bar and the hostel were also producing some incomes which we can use to help then local community, young people with very, of course, also with our knowledge and our intention of helping, but also like in contributing, like for example, in opening a small exhibition, contributing with the frames, with the printing, and with everything that we could to make that possible. In 2014 until 2019, Destil gained a very good name within the local but also international community. It was a space used by all of the embassies, all of the young organizations, different NGOs, different informal initiatives to host their event. We were also doing a lot of events and program experimenting, you know. We were a lot experimenting within architecture, design, cultural initiatives, music, and I think that this was our best investment. Like we invest in the brand a lot and in creating the community a lot. And even if we, as all of you that had built a space from the scratch know, we had to build it little by little because spaces take forever, like they never end on investing. And I think that really the best investment that we have done was the community. And I'm saying this because unfortunately we did not a very good investment on what it is, the contract of the space. So we rented this space for just 5 years. And in 2019, in the moment when in Tirana, this transformation took like crazy, like a lot of villas like ours were being demolished in a domino effect, we found ourselves finishing the contract, and the owner have sell it to new owners they wanted to demolish. So we had very few times in finding a new location. And this was also the time when I met with Marin in Slovenia. And we have just found our new space, and where we are also now located. So today Destil is located in a new building in Boulevard des Occupars. And this building now is a building of 6 floors, which host all of our different programs. We are focused on creative industries, a lot, music, architecture, design, but also in this new premises, we, through collaboration with friends and artists, we have also opened our gallery, which is named Boulevard Art and Media Institute. And it's a space dedicated exactly to the to this mixing of media and art, because our premises used to be one of the most important premises during communism of media. So it was the telegraphic agency of Albania and also the headquarters of a very important journal. So starting from this and building up and opening to the art scene of Tirana, we have today also dedicated this space to contemporary art, and we are open to collaboration within Albanian artists on building, experimenting on education and building something together. It is very recently open. We have started in September. So as you can imagine, we have been through 2 very, very hard years. So when we signed the contract of the new premises, it was January 2020. And we start working on the renovation for just 3 months, and then pandemic happened. So we stopped all of the work, and to restart again in June. And during that time, until September 2021, we were all the time under construction, and we were keeping alive our program and our community by online events, but also we had a temporary smaller space where everyone, even if it was very high, they follow us. So this is actually what I wanted to say, like our best investment was the community, because even with a small space, a very hidden space, people keep coming, and our community keep coming at us. And today, in our new location, we are very, very happy how things are going, because we are having, like today, exactly that I'm talking, there were 6 events going on in the same time. So in Tirana, the situation with the pandemic is much relaxed. Like we have this until 11 o'clock, but anyhow, events are still keeping on happening, and there are not very much restriction yet for us. So I would have loved to share some pictures with you, but unfortunately my web on the computer does not, so I'm connecting through my phone, so I really apologize. And yes, I'm here for any question that you might have.
Yes, we encourage everyone to check your Facebook page and photos there, because we put a link also in the event, because it really looks amazing. And I also remember when Albanian artist Doni Kacina was here for the residency during the program of Voids in February. She was also talking about this, and I know she is now also involved in that. So you can also check the talk that we had with her, where she was also talking about the situation of the art scene in Albania, and also her own initiative of citizen residency. Thank you, Sonila. I have one question for now, and that is, do you get any support from the city, from the state, from how do you work?
So for the first years of Destil, we didn't even try to get any support, because, as I mentioned, we wanted also to understand. We had the support of our families, so they were the one who were supporting us within the first year, and we wanted also to understand where our vision would go, before starting, because we didn't want the funds to shape our vision, but we wanted to be sure for what we want and then maybe to apply. So today, yes, in our business model, we have both. We have still the business, which is keeping us very sustainable and very also independent. But we also have the NGO, from which we also apply and got support from different entities for different programs that are open to people, and they are free of charge.
Mm-hmm. And what is your business? What are the services that you offer?
So today in the new premises, we have again the bar cafe, we have the co-working. So we have 3 floors of co-working spaces, and then from them they have also possibility to use the shared spaces in our building for event. A lot of event organization and other entities are hosting their event in our space. So these are all the things that make our business profitable. Then the other part is the program, our own program, what we are doing, that is funded by different organization.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is one question on Facebook page.
Yes, this is for Sonila, so I will just read it quickly. Does anybody need 6 floors in Albania postmodern internet COVID Zoom times for art, or is it new kind of opening to art scene who has trouble to be opened online?
It's not just art, actually. So yes, we have dedicated the underground to the gallery and to the contemporary art, but then the other floors are dedicated more to startups, creative industries, and it's not studio atelier. So in Albania, it would have been very, very difficult, I think, to have 6 floors just for that. Yes, but especially during COVID.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Sonila. Okay, so now we will go a little bit beyond the region, as we mentioned. And Meryem, thank you for joining us. And we are looking forward to hear how is your research going, and what are you working on, because I think that it can really give us maybe overview of something that might be similar in some ways, what we are experiencing, and also maybe inspirational or comparative in some of the ways.
Yeah, thank you, Yasmina. So actually, I'm going to share my screen. Just together, actually, a short presentation. Yeah, do you see? Do you see it? Great. Okay, so actually my research is about small artist-run organizations in rural Sweden. And it's because in the last 10, 15 years in Sweden, there has been this phenomenon of all these small artist-run initiatives opening all over the country. And it's also interesting because they work in a very different way if you compare with the bigger institutions in, for example, urban settings. And they also inspired a lot by decolonial, feminist, sustainable practices, also, for example, ecological issues and all this kind of questions. And so they developed actually very experimental approaches of working with contemporary art and artists. And these practices have been benefiting for years to the national and the international art world, because most of these rural spaces also have artist residencies. So they've been hosting a lot of artists throughout the years, and also giving them enough space to kind of experiment with different things. And many of these artists were also parts of commercial galleries, of course, but also biennials all over Europe and the world. And also the practices that these initiatives have created benefit also a lot the local communities. And here, this is just an example of one of these art spaces. I mean, here, yeah, I mean, but this is just a general list. And actually, I just wanted to focus on two spaces because I think they are good examples of what's happening nowadays in Sweden. So one is Cultivator, which is one of the oldest in this kind of trend of rural artist-run organizations. So it's actually what we can call an art farm, meaning that it's a farm. So it's really run as a farm by a group of artists, but they also have exhibitions, they have a residency program, and throughout the year they have workshops, long-term research projects, and then they also have a lot of animals that they also involve in some of the art project, but more in a, and just the funny thing is that they're very interested also in all this like post-human questions. So when they have projects with like horses or something, they almost credited as artists. I mean, actually they are credited as artists, not almost. So for them, you can collaborate with non-humans as you would do with humans, and it still is artistic collaboration. And they also collaborated with museums in urban settings and other type of art spaces. And so this is just to see a bit how they present themselves. So cooperation of organic farming and art practice. And they're also very interested in this, questions between like the production, and art practice between concrete and abstract process of survival, which is a very interesting point because they think a lot about, I mean, the climate change and also all these issues now that are affecting people all over the world. And another example that is also very interesting is Gruva, which is also called the Non-Existent Center. And it's actually a group of artists from a lot of different disciplines that came together and bought an old mine. It was like an iron mine and the land around it. And this is in the poorest municipality of Sweden, actually, which was for, I mean, a couple of centuries, like an industrial hub. But I mean, now there's nothing. All the factories close down and young people leave just after high school. They go to bigger cities. So there's also a problem of depopulation in this area. And so they came together and they bought this place for very, very cheap. Like, I guess for the same price, they could have had just a super tiny apartment in Stockholm or something. And they also have exhibitions, performances, concerts. They have a documentary festival, lectures, also an artist residency program. And they also do this kind of events where people can walk all over the mine, and also have storytelling events. And it's quite a huge place. So it's 9 hectares, and the building is 4,000 square meters. But I mean, the building is not totally safe. So they're still working on it, trying to get funding to make it more, again, like more sustainable, and so that they can work there the whole year, because now they can't work there in winter because it's too cold, and they cannot really have heating because, I mean, there's no infrastructure, and it's also quite expensive. So at the same time as they are thinking about art and how to work locally, they're also thinking about these questions of how to transform this old mine to energy sufficient kind of building. And today, actually, most of this, I mean, not most, all of them, they get money from local founders, because the Swedish cultural founding system is very decentralized. So basically, you can get money from your municipality, you can get money from your city if it's a big city, you can get money from the region, and then you can get money from national institutions that would found other kind of specific type of projects. And of course, some of them also get funding from some private Swedish institutions, but it's very minimal because actually the public sector really in Sweden has the responsibility to fund art. And there's also a lot of them that get money through this like Nordic institutions. So there's this Nordic Culture Fund that also gives money to projects that would like involve 2 or more Nordic countries. So in that sense, most of them don't apply for example, money from European Union or other type of institutions. It's a very local funding. But the problem in that sense is that some municipalities all over Sweden, depending also on which political party they are either starting to cut funding for these art institutions, particularly contemporary art, actually, because many of them think that it's a bit like useless. They would rather give money for projects maybe that are more for like classic public art or this kind of initiatives. And also there's the other issue that they kind of want to have a say a bit on what these institutions are doing, which before never happened in Sweden. So now a lot of people are trying to kind of raise a bit their voice about this, saying that this is not okay, that now we have politicians criticizing or saying we don't want this, we want this, and this type of things. So it's the first time actually that this is happening in Sweden. And also people are really worried because a lot of municipalities are going like more into center politically, or like right. And there is an election next year, and in a lot of municipalities they're really worried because if they end up having right party or far right party, because there is a very strong far right party in Sweden, then they could really have issues with their local founding. Then they would need to maybe rely just on the national founding, but then it is a problem. So in that sense, we can say that now it's an interesting time to study them, because a lot of things can change, and also media now sometimes are questioning the value and usefulness of these organizations and the project they are doing. And also one interesting thing is that there is a network. I mean, they are organized in a network called the Collective Brain, where they are discussing this question and also discussing all the methodologies they are working with, and also how they can share them more efficiently, like between them, but also maybe with the institutions that are not maybe in the art world, maybe schools or local associations in small rural areas that want to work with kids or something. So they're really trying to have this like dynamic where they also have a collective brain, as the name is saying it. And also, I think what's interesting about these spaces, why I'm also interested in them, is that I think because they are in the margins, they are not in the center of the Swedish art world, they had the freedom to actually work differently and to experiment differently. And also, I mean, of course, they were lucky that Sweden has a system that you could get quite generous funding if you compare to other countries, but they are still vulnerable if you compare with like spaces in the cities, or like there's a lot of spaces in Sweden that are actually run by the municipalities. They are part of the municipality, so of course these ones have more money, they have more resources than these small ones, like artist-run organizations. And this vulnerability, I think this is what kind of made them work differently and made them kind of think outside of the box in a sense, and create these new methods that it was created by this position they have of vulnerability. So that is really interesting for me. Yeah,
thank you. It's not really comforting, but it's interesting to see that there are some things that we see in common also with our countries now happening there as well. I wanted to also ask you, because you are coming from some little bit different context, non-European, but there are many similarities that could be drawn also as you are coming from a Mediterranean country, where you also worked as a journalist and you reported a lot about cultural scene. So I don't want to ask you about the challenges, but is there anything that you encounter there that is lacking now here where you're performing your research, or could be, or something that as a good practice can be adapted also to the European context?
Yeah, that's a very
difficult question.
Yeah, but it's but actually, yeah, I mean, the thing that comes to my mind is that because I'm from Morocco, and there the system is actually super different, of course, I mean, from Sweden, but it's mainly because there most of the art, contemporary art, happens in the cities and happens in private institutions because they are the ones that have the money. And there, it's totally the opposite, that you would find that public institutions don't have much money, and they really struggle to get money. So they're really quite suffering. Like, for example, the 2 public art schools are really struggling because they lack funding. But on the other side, you have a lot of private, like museums or galleries run by, I mean, wealthy people, or this, foundations of these corporations. And there, this is where the experimental happens, which is very weird if you compare to Sweden. But it's because they're the only ones who can give them this this freedom to do that. And in Morocco, if you go outside of the urban settings, there's nothing. I mean, contemporary art speaking, nothing. But I mean, if you want to be a contemporary artist, you cannot be outside of a big city, which in Sweden is not the case. You can live in the middle of literally nowhere. You can still be relevant to the art scene. So I think that's,
Yeah, I have actually now a question for all of you. And this is about your somehow immediate context. Alem, you talked already a little bit about it because it is in some way, it was periphery and now it's maybe a little bit less, but still, who are your immediate users, of course, except artists and for you, Sonila, people who use co-working spaces, but like audiences or communities or people who visit you, people you work with, people you do projects with. Who are they?
Well, when we first came here, we did some efforts to to invite somehow sorry, local people from surrounding. This is like suburban area, more agricultural. So it's lately it's a bit different. But at that times it was really not many neighbors, lots of Roma people, lots of poor people also. And we did some programs at the beginning to somehow try to invite them in this contemporary art context. And we have organized few readings and concerts and also exhibitions, but it just didn't work out. So we also had few workshops for children in neighboring school, and also there is this safe house for women victims of family abuse, domestic abuse, which is also closed. We also tried to approach to them somehow. We did have some success, but not really much. We do have intention still to develop our program in this direction, mostly connected to this suburban periphery surrounding, but also to this neighboring Roma people. Last year we had an exhibition of Thelma Salman, which is a great performer artist from Bosnia, which is also from Roma origins. But it still didn't still have much success in that. We do have a good connection to them. We are like good neighbors, but in this context that they are visiting our programs, it never happened in a big number. So we do have few of them coming here, but it never developed into something bigger. Maybe Bojan, who is our new guy, full of ideas, will come to some new ideas that could maybe invite them, but we will see.
Thank you. And for you, Sonila?
So they still have a very central location. Like we are within 3 minutes by the city center and 3 minutes walking. But it's like our community is not just from center, they are coming from all Tirana, young independent freelancers, creatives, it's known as the house of the architects. So there was a lot of architects who came to our premises, but now the community have grown. There are a lot of musicians, filmmakers, and now with the gallery also a lot of artists. And what we want to do, especially now that we are in this new neighborhood, we want to create a better location with our neighbors. So we want to understand where we located, what can we do, how can we build a better, a better community, how can we know better each other. This is also, we would like to think in terms of program, how can we do and how can we reinforce this connection. It's very interesting. We are working on that also to attract different ages, like children, more young, and also, but not just them, also elderly people, which we would like to include and to see how can they be part of different programs.
Mm. Thank you. And for you, Meryem, because I'm always wondering, like when Cultivator, for example, does something, like who are the people? Like, is there, I don't know, a bus from Stockholm going to the exhibition opening, of who are their audiences, except animals, of course?
I mean, I think they have a local audience that is probably kind of used to them being there, and because it's been almost 16 years. Like, how do you call that? Like core kind of audience that is there. But then what's also interesting with them is that they do a lot of collaborations with spaces all over Sweden. So then I guess when they collaborate with those ones, the audience of the other institutions becomes also theirs. So they're quite mobile in that sense.
Yeah,
they still try to.
That's a good strategy, actually.
Yeah.
But you would say so that all of these like rural areas, they have their own like small audiences, like local communities that they actually build around their own initiative.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah. Okay, I will now give floor to everyone else, and also if you speakers have questions for one another, anything you would like to know more or add?
Well, I would like to add just that I have added our Facebook page on chat. So since I couldn't find many photos of our events, you can find a lot on our Facebook. Unfortunately, it's mostly Croatian, but I think there is something written also in English. But in photos, you will see how this space works. Maybe I haven't underlined too much the purpose of these spaces here started as studios, as art studios, and it still is our main goal to develop our individual careers, which are pretty good ones. We have two of our artist fellows here. They were representing Croatia on Venice Biennale. So many good artists are still here, and that's really satisfying to see that this community is developing individually as well as a community. So of course all of you are welcome here. You can contact us through our Facebook page, and our website should be launched during this or the next week. So you will be able to see much more on our website in the future.
Yeah, I actually had one question I now remember to ask you. What is the procedure of, like, do you still give spaces to the new artists, or how do they change, or is there some call, or is it just who is there is there?
Yeah, so unfortunately we don't have any possibility to use this space as our own property or whatever, because this is the property of city of Zagreb, and each one of us has a contract for our space. So the common space is something that we use for like a public events, yeah. And we have had pretty bad communication with the city of Zagreb until now. So lots of things we have done. We had to wait for a long time to get approval from the city, no matter, for example, when we rearranged some unused spaces, which were toilets, for this space for residency, we waited for more than a year for approval. No matter the fact that we invested our own money or the money that we had from different grants. We also made an auction of our artworks for this purpose. So that's some strange situation where we care much more for public culture, public well-being than the city. Yeah. So yeah, we have to wait all the time. We have to wait, but we have ideas, and I think with the new city government, we hope that we will have a much better communication. So the answer is we don't have any possibility to offer a space for any artist for longer term use, only for this like a project that we have now in this space for residency.
Thank you. And just a quick question for you, Sonila. So you are in a private space, on the other hand, right? Or have you ever tried with having a public space, or what is the situation with that in Tirana?
It's very uncertain, even the private space at the end, it was not certain. Yeah. You heard our story, like no, we have not tried with the public space till today, so we prefer dealing with 20 owners, because like in our premises, actually we have convinced like 20 different people to rent the space to us instead of going to public, because yeah, as I mentioned, Tirana is going through a lot of transformation, and even the building that is next to us, which is a 7th floor building, is now being demolished, and it's a building of 2nd category of culture, but yeah, they decided to tear it down and to demolish, because after the earthquake, they say that it was not secure anymore. But that was a very important building, because it's part of an ensemble. So together with our building and the building that is on the other side, they formed an ensemble, an architectural ensemble, and they all the three used to be the headquarters of the Telegraphic Agency of Albania and this important newspapers during communism. But it's also a building of a very important architect from Albania. It was the first 7th floor building in Tirana, and with a very characteristic facade. And unfortunately now it will not exist anymore. So going to public also is not so easy in terms of a lot of things.
Yeah. So much. Maybe I can jump in with a very short comment and question. It was really interesting hearing the experiences from these different situations, let's say independent arts, and then also these different creative initiatives in remote areas. And then the other one, which is a really good example of the combination of culture and creative work, and also let's say an organization that can be self-sustainable or more or less self-sustainable, which is something that we also strive for. And we can maybe touch upon a little bit of our situation, because it is not that common in Croatia that a small cultural organization goes private. Often is, just waiting for a long time to kind of get into some kind of a dialogue with the public institution, and then somehow, always trying to take bits and pieces here and there. And for us, this was also a big challenge. So at the end, we also decided to go private. And it's something that we often need to explain a lot to people, because it is something that is maybe new or crazy in a way. And it is. But we are now really trying to think of these different ways, how to maybe create this certain type of activity that can also bring us some kind of a value, and invest in our own activities and in the space. So hearing your experiences, Sonila, was really great. And I think we do not have to be afraid of combining this culture and creative work with commercial work, and really try to just think of creative solutions, because this is what we have left, right? The creative approach to precarity and to kind of being independent. And what does even that mean? What does independence mean? So just to finalize this dialogue, I mean, I think it would be really nice to hear what would be your advice, or what is your biggest lesson learned in your path that you have gone through, and what would be maybe an advice to someone who is starting to look in that direction, or maybe just the biggest lesson learned. It would be nice to hear.
From my side, as I mentioned also in the beginning, like community was and it is very important for this space to survive. You need to be open to collaboration with people. You need, like, all of our programs are not programs of just Destil. They are run by different people that are the best in what they do. Like, for example, we have our program for films named Nightflix, and it's run by a friend of ours she's a young director. And tomorrow she will have a triple screening in Destil, because we will screen a very important film, Albanian movie that is concurring for Oscar. And in the first hour that we put it online, it was sold out. So 60 tickets gone. And then we need to open also the other spaces. And same thing also for the gallery. Like I'm running it together with two other colleagues. And they are also putting all of their heart, all of their knowledge in doing the best and running the space at their best. So being open to collaboration, to invite people, and also being very, very careful on hearing the needs of where you are located, what are the needs of the community. This is very important, I think, if you want to succeed. Like, this is the lesson that I've learned, because I went through a big failure. Like, actually, what we have done in the first 5 years, it was very good in terms of building a good name, etc. But in terms of business, it was not good. In terms of sustainability, it was not good, because in investing in renovating a space, a private space, you cannot think that it can come back to you in 5 years. 5 years are very, very little. So we learned from our mistake, and but we didn't give up. We didn't give up because we believed in what we have built until there, and also the people that are following the Destil, that are part of our community, believed in us, and they continued following us and participating, and also demanding for us to continue doing what we were doing. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well,
yes, I also think that we heard also some of the strategies that we are using or started to use or experimenting with, as we are also a new organization, in a sense that our space is new in a neighborhood with many inhabitants, and where we are still sensing a community, where there's a lot of schools, there's a lot of different actors, and it's going to take a while to see what what actually can be done and what can work or what cannot work. Does anyone else have questions or comment or? Okay, if not, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. The conversation was screened, so we will have it on our YouTube. And in case you need something, and yes, we hope to host all of you at some point in ProStore in Split. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for comments, questions, and for just joining us.
Thank you very much, and really hope to see your new space. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.